right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Esri GIS Education Chat. This is the second one that we have, and today the topic that we have is teaching with and using the Experience Builder. So many of you probably familiar already with Web Apps Builder, but this is the new generation, and it's very exciting. And the one that we bring today to present is David Martinez. David Martinez is a product engineer on the Experience Builder. So you get the experience from the first hand here. And this is not the webinar, this is the brown bag. So we make it less formal. It's a lot just demo how to do this, how you incorporate it into your class if you like to, or your capstone project for students. And so David will be presenting about 30 minutes. And after that, we have plenty of time for question and answer. So feel free to participate during the presentation, maybe write on the chat if you have questions. And after the presentation, you can unmute and speak if you like. And again, this session is recorded. So we're going to share the recording after the brown bag. With that, I'm gonna return it to David. And David, feel free if you want to say more about yourself and take it away. I'm gonna stop sharing here.
Great, thank you everyone. Excited to be here. So let me start sharing my screen here. Let's see, so share screen. I'm going to share desktop 3. Okay, so you guys, hopefully everyone can see my screen.
Not yet.
Not yet. Let's see. All right, I gotta hit share.
You get started, the Explore National Park.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm excited to be here today. I'm a product engineer on the Experience Builder development team, and I wanted to show you guys some new tools that we released last week, part of our online release. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you a quick tour of Experience Builder, considering we only have 30 minutes. But just show you how this could be used, I think, not only by your students as part of the curriculum when they're working on their projects, but also for yourselves if you guys need to build any kind of pages with relevant to maps or any kind of things where you need other widgets, etc., to build this. So here what we're looking at is something I created last week. This is all built with Experience Builder. Here we have a splash screen here. It doesn't have, there we go. And basically this is a mobile window that you can use, and it's all customizable, and that's one of the great advantages of Experience Builder. You're not locked into a certain width or height position container. Here you can see I've created this Explore National Tours here. And this is what we call a linear scrolling page. You're probably used to maybe full screen apps. Well, in Experience, you get the best of both worlds. We've included new animations in here as well. Once I click on Utah here, you could see I have different parks here. But let's go ahead and click on arches. And we've support 2D and 3D maps directly in Experience Builder. So once this loads here, I can click here and it interacts with the actual tour. So think of your students that come in here using their projects. They can hit autoplay here. They can start doing tours of what their assignments are. So this is all built with Experience Builder. So we have multiple widgets going on here. We have a map widget here, and then we have a bookmark widget here. And then I could take full control over this. I can go to certain areas. If I wanted, I could go back to the beginning here, for instance. And if I wanted to go back to the main page, I hit this back button here, and you're back at this, okay? So your starting point when you first launch Experience Builder you're going to go to experiencebuilder.arcgis.com. I have 2 browsers running because I didn't want to mess up my caching for this demonstration purpose. And simply what you do is you log in there. So now what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to build this type of app, just to give you some idea, to set some context of what exists in Experience Builder. So when you first come in Experience Builder, these are all my published experiences. Now I have a ton because I have to do a lot of testing and debugging of certain things. But when you go ahead and you click on Experience Builder, you're going to be presented with a list of templates. Now, if you've used in the past Web App Builder, for instance, which I'm part of that team as well, you've known that you have these pre-configured templates that you use. And that's kind of the same with Experience, but you have a greater deal of flexibility. I think most of us would probably start off with templates. We have templates that you can create and just hit create, and they're basically containers of widgets, and basically you add your content to those. And then also too is if you want to create your own type of template or your own design, you would select a blank full screen or a blank scrolling. Basically the difference between these two is blank full screen is 100% of that page, right? It doesn't scroll, that's it. Blank scrolling is your typical website where you could just give you that linear scrolling. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and select a multi-page template. Now I stubbed this out for time purposes. So in my example here, I'm using this scenic template here. So once I hit create, I'm going to come into an interface like this. Now, what I want to show you now is how to easily configure this. So we can get something that looks like this here. Okay, so real quick, how this is laid out, there's three simple things. You have a header, which we're here. You have a body, which is your content, okay? And then if you choose to, you can have a footer as well, okay? And everything you see on screen, they're basically widgets, right? And we've done all the background work to make sure that those widgets act, basically they're HTML elements, but in Experience Builder, the widgets, because you can include other widgets into your environment as well. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and expand this header section here, because what we want to do is we want to get a bigger, bolder image to showcase this opening page. So everything in here is pretty much drag and drop. You have your widget panels here, right? So these are going to be all your basic widgets that you're going to use. And we are continually adding more with each incremental release. And then you also have layout widgets, because sometimes you're going to need to use layout widgets. So think of layout widgets as containers, right? You're going to put a widget and it's going to absorb within that container. And then we have these things called sections, which allow you to create things like this. These are sections, and I'll talk a little more about those. But let's go ahead and add a widget. And to add it, you just simply drag it on the screen. Okay. And then what I want to do is I'm going to select it. You can load local images via URL, or you can connect to a data source. So let's say you have images stored in a feature layer, you can do that. But for this particular demonstration, all my widgets are local. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this widget here. And basically, there's two ways to size this. You can just do this, drag and drop. You can position these, or you could use this widget toolbar for positions and say, I want full size. So this basically takes full size of this header container, okay? As you can see, it didn't drop down there. So now what I want to do is I want to add text on this. On here, I want to add a logo, I want to add a button. And the best way to do that is to put it in a container such as a fixed panel. So I'm going to drag this fixed panel on here. And what I'm going to do is take advantage of these positioning. And I'm going to say I want full width. So this basically full width is 0 to 0. And I'll show you what I mean here. So this is stretch width. So when you're dealing with size and positions in widgets, they're pretty much, it's all universal when you're in here. Width is going to be stretch. So there is this whole size of container. And there's basically three options here. There's one auto. So auto is going to absorb as much of the container as it can if you have auto on that. Custom would be like, maybe I only want 50% of this. In this particular one, what we're going to do is we're going to change this pixel height here. And we're going to say we want 460 pix here. Okay, and that's going to increase this. And these are the positions of where our widget's anchored. So right now it's 12% of this. But what I'm going to do is we're going to change this and say, oh, we want this at 0 up top. Oh, hold on, let's put this delete, and now we want 0. And when you're working with this, you're going to notice, well, why isn't this bottom one set? Well, in this particular one, since we have width at stretch, height at 460, 0, this one's going to take on auto because this one's at 0. If we change this to auto here, this is going to do 20% of this, but now you see we have this gap up here. But we want to align this up at 0, so we could just click here and it's already done. Now what I'm showing here is just showing you some configuration stuff. A lot of the templates that you're going to use, they are going to be preset. So let's go ahead and add another widget for our logo here. So we're going to drag, actually we're going to do one last thing. I want to add an animation here. So this was a big thing with this release. So we have animations, so you can do animations, not only with maps, but with images, etc. And all these settings in here, like animation, background, these are all universal, which means they exist on other widgets as well. So if you learn them in here, that technique is going to apply in your other widgets as well. So one thing I want to do is this image is pretty bright, so I'm gonna mask it a little. I could do that in Photoshop, but I figured why not use Experience Builder to do that. So I'm going to take this here, and we're going to basically change this position to stretch, and now we mask that a little bit so it's not so bright, because I want to put some other text on there and it doesn't take away from the text because the image is so bright. So I'm going to go ahead and add an image widget here for my logo. Just drag in position here. We'll select that, and then basically we could do something like this if we wanted to. But I know the size I want, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this Style tab here. We'll change this to pix, and these are just pixels on the screen, and just change this to 32 on both of them. Okay. And then what I want is I want this a certain distance from the top. So I'm going to drop this by 20 pix. And then my position for my left here, I don't want this at 1. I'm going to do 21 from the left. So you're going to see move that out, okay? This gives me exact placement where I want. Now what I want is a text widget right next to it because we want a title here. So let's go ahead and call this land tour. Okay. And then let's change the font selection to 18 pix. Perfect. And then best techniques with when you're dealing with dynamic text, and this one, of course, is not dynamic text, is you want to be able to make sure that if you have text that's dynamic and you can't scope out how much text it's going to be, a good technique is just set it to auto. And that basically what that's going to do is that's going to absorb the full. So if this text was dynamic and it absorbed all, and it was really long, then you absorb all of this in here. So that's a good pattern when you're dealing with dynamic text. But this one's fixed, but we'll keep it at auto anyway. Now, I want to change this to make sure it matches my position with my image. So this is going to be 22, and we'll keep 60 right there. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is let's add a button here. So we're going to add a button in this corner, because what we want to do is when we click on this button, we have these new modals now. So we want to have people to use this about button. So what we could do is we could set this button to a page, a view, a window, a web address, but we're going to set it to a window, and that's going to be that about button. And I'll show you where those are at real quick after this. And then to change this label, we're just going to select about. And when you're dealing with things that like are buttons, you want to give different states. Okay, well, what I mean by states, there's the regular, which is basically means with no interaction, right? It's going to be this. And then you have a hover. So when someone hovers over it, they're going to know that's a visual cue that the state has changed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to modify this button to make it feel like it's part of this overall design. So we're going to go ahead and change the fill to be transparent here. So now we have this transparent button here, and we want to give it a border of white. Okay, so now that button's coming along here. And then we want to change the radiuses of everything on this button. So let's give it 100. And there's our button. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want the hover to be different than the regular. So what we're going to do here is change this and change this text to white on the hover and change the fill to blue, and border would be blue, and then we want to give it that same rounded edges all the way around, not 1,000. Okay, so that if we want to preview our changes without, well, probably should save, but we can, without publishing or previewing, we can hit this live view, and now you can see my buttons changed, but that button's a little big. So let's go ahead and change that. Now these are same patterns that we were doing with the other ones. So for this button, this would probably, let's change this. That's too big. So let's do, let's see this button. You just use this just to show you. And then what we could do is let's change this to the right, and -1 would be overlap. So we don't want -1. Let's just say this is 20 from the right, and the top, to make sure it lines up with over here, these would be 22. Okay. All right. So looks like it's okay. It's still kind of big, but okay. So now when I click this button, it should launch that, because what we did is we made sure that the set link selects that particular button. Okay. All right. Now what we want to do is give a bigger, bolder text description here. We're just going to drag this here, and then we're just going to call this Explore National Parks here. And then we're going to just select this at, let's just give this 48 here. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure this lines up horizontal center. So we can select this horizontal center, and then basically we can come here and say, okay, we want this at auto and auto. And then we have these new widgets, which is basically a divider. So if you want to separate content from maybe different widgets to give it like a visual cue, you can use this thing called a divider. And I'm just going to slide it here, and then we're going to select the style here, and we're going to select the positioning for this particular divider. Actually, we're going to do horizontal center to make sure that lines up. And then I'm going to change these pixels to make sure, oh, this is good, 50, and this is fine at that position. So if we look at this now, it's going to, you saw that animation there, it slides right in. Okay, so our header's done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we want to complete our tour. So basically this is a linear scrolling page, as you can see here. And this uses what we call sections. Okay, so a section is really good when you have content that's maybe almost somewhat consistent. The width, the overall messaging, you know, is it relevant? Does it fit within that? It's going to be good for sections, because what it means is you can have multiple views within a section, so it doesn't have to switch. So I'm not switching to additional pages. So for example, I have California and Colorado, but what I want to do is I want to add Utah. Okay, now these are all cards. These are card widgets in here. Okay, same thing, you have regular and hover states, and then you can provide active links to do what you want to do with these cards. But what I want to do is we want to add to this. This is a view navigation. It corresponds to a section. Basically, what we want to do is we want to add Utah here, so we could build our tour. So a really handy tool, and when you're learning Experience Builder, is this outline section here. You can duplicate content here, you can delete, you can move to the pending list. So the pending list basically doesn't delete it, and moves it to the pending list. And basically what that means is you could come in here, and if we had a widget in here, pending, you can add it back to the environment without deleting it. And that's good when you're going to be developing your own templates, because you might need to design your template basically for the different form factors if you're dealing with a large screen side versus a mobile, because you might not have the real estate. So going back to here, we have our outline here, and what we're going to do is we're going to find our section here. So we're going to go ahead, and this is part of another. So we have these things called blocks. Okay, so think that blocks are basically blocks of rows of content. You can see there's one for this one here, and then there's a block right here for this one. Okay, and that just separates the content in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this section here, and then we're gonna just basically copy this layout. So we're gonna go click on Colorado here and hit duplicate. All right, and then we're just going here and type Utah, hit OK. And now we're in our Utah view. Now it's inheriting all the configurations with this, which is good because I don't want to have to go back and configure the states. So to change these, we just select on here, double click, select your image, and then we just basically go through the motion of building your tour. So we're just going to type in arches here. Now I always don't delete the first one because the first text, because then I'm finding myself having to reconfigure, having to set this at 40 pix. So we're just going through here, selecting our tour, getting our data here, and this is Bryce Canyon. If I could type Bryce Canyon, and then just moving right down here. Let's get this, and this is Canyonlands. All right. All right, so we got Canyonlands here. All right, and then our last one would be Zion. So let's just change this to Zion. Zion, and let's just change this image out to the Zion here, and we're right here. Okay, so here we have, you can have multiple pages. So if I want to add another page, I can simply click here and add another page, and we'll do that after we finish this. But we have another one here called page 2. And this is basically where our content is. We all work in GIS, so where's the map? Well, there's the map. So here we have a map widget here, and you can basically go in here and select the content you want to load to the map, for instance, if you wanted to change that. But we're good with national parks. And this is also in a container called a sidebar. Okay, so this is in a container, a sidebar, so I could change this if I wanted to. Different layout configurations, but this one works. And then on the right hand side, we have a bookmark. So this is a bookmark widget that includes tours of the national parks for arches. Okay, and here I could come in here and I could say, oh, I want the transition, maybe I want a box. So when that transition changes, maybe I want autoplay, and maybe I want this to be at 5 seconds. And then if I wanted to, I could add another bookmark here just to show you how simple this is. And let's say I was going here and I just changed that rotation. Looks like what this is, Joshua Tree. And let's say I wanted this one here. You could hit save, or we have these sketch tools here. If you want to add additional stuff like points, polygons, I can hit save. And then there's your bookmark label. I could say Joshua Tree here. And then I could add an image. Let's see, right there. And that would be part of the tour, okay? All right, so the way we connect this page with the first one is I want, when people come to Utah, when they click on this card here, I want them to go to that second page. Well, that second page is basically a view. You can create multiple views. So I would do one, for example, for Bryce Canyon, for Canyonlands, etc. But for this particular demo, it's only wired up for arches. So to change this, I'm going to go to set link and I'm going to select view 2 because I know that one's view 2. So if we click OK here and we hit save, just in case this crashes, I'm going to hit live view. And right there's our animations. And here's arches. There we go. So we're in our view there. It kept track of my last state there. Other things that you can do too is here we have this sticky button here. It's always positioned in this placement here. And what we could do is we can incorporate things such as the survey widget. So I could take a survey of, based on, I got to give myself a 5, and what's my favorite park? Of course, arches. Hit submit. So this actually submits to the feature layer about that. And then you can bind data too. So for example, so let's say I was clicking a point on the map. I could bind that to the survey, and it would automatically populate the field in here and say, oh, they chose ArcGIS Park, and it's already typed in here, so you can send corresponding features. Now, we have these things called windows, and these are basically modal dialogues that you can create. Let's say I wanted a alert one here. You could create this, and this could pop up just like a splash screen, or it could be anchored. And anchored basically means it's triggered by another widget. So if I clicked here and I said, okay, I want this confirmation, and this was anchored, so a button widget would trigger this. So let's go back to page here, and where's our button? It's going to be down here. And if I change this to window 2, hit live view, I think that's the one. Let's see. There we go. Okay, no, that one didn't switch. But you can anchor, you can have this switch to other windows in here. Okay. All right. So that's a quick demonstration of like how I got this to match that Explorer National Tours, providing you with some foundational concepts. I think with majority of the time, what you're going to do is you're going to select a template, and basically you're going to choose a template that works for your particular workflow. So in this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this foldable theme template here, and I'll just show you real quick. If I want to change the map, I just go here. Let's just we can select this one. Let's select this land hub, and I could select this one. And if I wanted both maps, I could select here 2 of them. And then I have this basically this thumbnail that I could switch between the 2 of them. But these 2 aren't good examples because one's in the UK and the other one's in the US. And then here I could come in here and I could say, oh, maybe I want to change this width of this. And maybe I want to add a list widget. One of the things that we added to this is interactive tours. So if you see this icon, I work on this particular component, but we were only able to get this one here, but you're going to see other tours with incremental releases. I could take the tour of this and it tells me what to do. Okay, so it says drag the widget here, and then it'll tell you the next steps to complete on here. But let's go ahead and skip this. So since that I added this list widget here, I could snap this to right and just basically, I want to make sure it's not off the canvas. Just drag this over here, position this, select this template here, click start, and then select my data set here. Let's select the points. And then each of these are individual widgets. Okay, so this is image widget, these are text. And if you have data stored as images in the feature layer, you're going to get another radio button set attachments, and you can select just attachments. But this one basically has URLs stored for thumb images, so hopefully that works. For some reason, there you go. And then we can select this as parcel name, and this is dynamic. So this is coming from the feature layer. Okay, so then what we could do is we could just say, okay, this widget is full height. And there we go. Oh, no, we don't want full height. We want it right here. Okay, so this is a simple way to add that widget. And then one of the great things about Experience Builder is you can add widget to widget communication. So supposedly I wanted to filter the lists based upon the extent of the map. So there's these things called actions, and just think of these as message queues, right? It's ensuring that this widget's communicating with this one. So on extent changes, we're going to select framework. We're going to filter the data records for these points and basically on extent. So if we go on here, hopefully this works. Let's see, there we go. So our list is changing there, right? So now we don't have so many features. Okay. And then another thing, what you can do is we've added these new things called data views. So basically, if I go into my web map and I click on a feature layer, you can create these things called data views. So if you have certain filtering conditions, or maybe you're using the card widget and you want to showcase a particular filter, you could come in here and do something like a clause and create a data view and say, okay, maybe I'm only interested in properties that let's see, that are on market. And then I come here, and this is data view 1. And then I come back here in my list, and let's go here, and we could change this to data view 1. So now my data is based upon that view. Okay, so this is pretty handy because then you can create these unique data views for your data sets. And the map always corresponds with the list. And this is a good, by default, when we create, the way the list widget works is we have to dynamically check how that list is loaded each time if the map. So imagine if you had 1,000 records in the list. You probably want to have some filtering on there or sorting. But by default, we have this thing called records. And basically this is the record page size. So I know in this particular example, I have 137 records. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm ensuring that every time I click on the map that it's going to highlight the appropriate point right there. You want to make sure that this page view here for your feature layer always matches, for the records page size always matches what's in the list, because you want to ensure that when your users click the point that it's going to highlight on the map. Okay. Now this example, I would not want that pop-up there because that's a little confusing. So you can just go ahead and disable the pop-up. Now we honor any settings that are coming from the web map. So let's say you have points and polygons here and you click on the point. Well, obviously you don't want your polygons to show up. So you can disable the pop-ups and it'll honor that selection. Another thing too is you can embed content. So let's say we had added another page. Let's just do a blank one here. And let's add a embed widget here. And we're going to connect to the data source of the same feature layer. And let's go polygons here, and then we're going to select that. Perfect. And then we're going to select let's see, drone footage here. Okay, so then if we go back to our page here, and we click on this, let's click on this and set a link to page 4. All right, so I got to assume, all right, I got to find the right data. I think this one has it, but if I zoomed into this area and I think it's this one. Yeah, I clicked on this. See if this works. Oh, perfect. Okay, so this one basically has drone footage of this, right? So now you can embed content of there to give you this immersive experience, right? So this content's hosted on a second page, right? But it's triggered from the first page. So this is a good example of you don't have enough content, basically enough real estate to put that in there. But you have a secondary page where maybe you want to provide more information. It could be text, it could be that embed widget, and then you could use this or have a button here to trigger that, and that would basically go to the second page. When you first come in Experience Builder, you're going to have this help guide come up, and it's going to, I worked on this one too. This is basically going to show you, if you've never used it, and we check if you've used Experience Builder, and it's going to walk you through this tour of how to do this. Okay, and so this is a good starting point if you've never used Experience Builder to get comfortable with the UI as you embark on your journey to create these. All right, so
awesome.
All right,
David, we have
yep.
a lot of questions here. This is
Okay.
a great demo here. I feel that this is more than the web app builder can offer. It's more granularity, detail setting as well. And I think probably the educator and student will love the flexibility to play with all these settings. Okay. A lot of our students and educators using story maps, and it's been good for really like final project, capstone project. So is there a guide to helping you choose between experience builder and story maps? Seems like a lot of overlap. And then the other thing is as well, when you have this experience builder, of course, this is the browser based, right? So you can run it in Macs, you can run it in Windows. When you save your project, where is it saved? Is it saved as a content item in ArcGIS Online?
Yeah. So we have multiple versions of Experience Builder. This one I'm using online. So under your online account, there's a resources/items/ maybe resources again /config.json, and that basically makes up the whole makeup. It's basically like Web App Builder, makes up the JSON of what this experience looks like. So all that content's stored up there.
And hey, David, does it get placed in a folder? You know, like when you're in Survey 123, it makes a folder survey / does it make like experience dash?
No, we store it in the default.
No worries. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And back to your question, Rena, about the difference between story maps. Yeah, there is actually a session that I believe Derek Law was going to do, kind of talking about the different, when to use hub versus story maps versus experience builder, kind of what is that messaging? Because story maps is great, right? It provides you these good narrative visualization techniques. I think the difference between that and experience builder is, experience builder has all these widgets. It supports and we're continually adding more. It's extendable. So there's usage for both in that sense. But if you need to do things like multiple map widgets, like I could add, so if I wanted to, you couldn't do this in Web App Builder. Watch, I couldn't just start dragging widgets on the screen like this. There is a max. There's up to 16, but once you hit that, if you guys need more than 16, let me know. But you could do this, right? So you can't do these, you can do these advanced configurations through Experience Builder. Like if you need like advanced filtering, right? I didn't even talk about filtering, and you have buttons to give you like selections of data sets up there to give you these, buttons up here. I didn't show that, but I probably don't have time. But it allows you to create these, I would say, more type of workflows where you have more logics in the widgets themselves.
I see. Now, talking about widget, there's one question here. Do you actually have the geoprocessing widget in Experience Builder?
No, we're actually, we had some couple discussions with the geoprocessing team, and they're kind of working on that right now of what widgets are going to go in part of Experience Builder. Same thing with the imagery team as well.
Awesome. So more and more widget coming in the future?
Yeah. So our team works on certain core widgets, and then we have cross-functional teams that are, like imagery or the geoprocessing team that works on that core functionality, and they look at Experience Builder and they build that widget for Experience Builder.
Another question is, with this Experience Builder is great featuring, but will Web App Builder and Web App templates continue to be supported?
Correct. Yeah, we are supporting both in parallel, Web App Builder in parallel with Experience Builder.
Awesome. Back to the widget. Do you have the widget that allow user to turn layer on and off?
There's a map layer widget here that you can drag in here, and then it allows user to do that. So
and you have the list of the layer that you can turn it on and off on that?
Yeah, so if you have like, say, I got all these maps here, but you can adjust, let's see. Oh, I know what they at runtime, they want to control it.
Toggle layer visibility, is that?
Yeah, no, this one doesn't have it, but let me see. Maybe it's map 2. Let's see. So basically what they want is there's an icon here that allows them to turn on and off the layer. It's an eyeball. So basically a lot of the widgets that we use, like the map layers, the legend, and the map, there's some, well, not necessarily, but the layers, the legend, we reuse the JavaScript API widgets.
It's all JavaScript API behind this, right?
Exactly, yeah. And all the widgets that you see on the map in here, these tools, these are all inherited from the JS API here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess the latest ArcGIS API for JavaScript that allowing you to have 3D as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. So like if I come in here and like that, this national parks, this is a 3D scene right here.
Awesome.
Yep. So there's the globe. There
now,
you go.
David, can Experience Builder can be accessed with ArcGIS Enterprise?
We're gonna have it should be releasing in a couple weeks. Just so you guys know, how we release Experience Builder is online's always ahead. And then a couple weeks later, maybe a month, we release the developer edition. And then hopefully a couple weeks later, usually it's a month, we'll use Enterprise. So right now we're on 1.1 release for online. That's our versioning behind it. Probably doesn't mean anything for people using online, but just to provide some context here. But when we release Enterprise, it's going to be based on our 1.0 release, and then we'll catch up with our 1.1 to get that part of Enterprise. But that should be released in July, if I'm certain.
What is the minimum user type in order to use this Experience Builder in ArcGIS Online?
Just the standard creator one.
Creator one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. All our university actually have GIS Professional Advanced, so it's even better.
Yeah.
Guess, right.
Yeah.
David, we have a good question in here. Okay. So Scott Wislow says she would like to have his students' experience with Experience Builder. And at the moment, I feel overwhelmed. I can see that as well. What would you suggest the most efficient way to get up speed with this app and teach it to the class of graduate students? A learning model, maybe?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So kind of getting to that, let's see, does it show? No, that didn't show. Let me see. I'll just put it on screen, just blow this up. So basically, the first one would be the doc site. That's, we've documented the product, but sometimes we need visual interaction to learn it. So we're going to be creating a learn lesson on Experience Builder this month, and it's going to be based around this UK data that I have up there that I was showing. But basically building an experience that solves a particular problem. So that learn lesson will probably be an hour in length. And then over the next couple weeks, I'm going to be creating videos of how to do certain things in Experience Builder for individuals who want to do more, have more control. I think one of the things that we discovered when we released this was we had to provide more templates because we can't expect everyone just to come in here and select a blank full screen and figure out, okay, where does this map go versus this. So we've been adding more templates to this. So a good starting point would be a user. They would come in here and select a template, a user or a student for that matter. And then they would just walk through of how to set these configurations here. But we're going to be doing learn lesson, and then I think the videos will help.
Awesome. Okay, I'm speeding up here because the time is almost up. Is there an Experience Builder widget that lets you pick a single layer to display at a time on the map rather than having to toggle layers on and off?
So is there a widget to select a single layer on the map? So at runtime, you mean? Like, do you want to change it dynamically at runtime? So when I'm in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, we don't have that as part of Experience, but we have yeah, this probably doesn't. For the developer edition, we have a sample widget that does that. That basically lets you choose the layer at runtime.
So maybe you can explain a bit more about this developer edition compared with the one that you show here.
Yeah, it's basically a different build. But okay, so if I go here, and this is where we have these tutorials now, and we just released these with Experience Builder. And I don't see that other one. Where is it? But I guess we're missing one. But basically, you can come in here, download the developer edition that installs locally, and then if there's some widgets that don't meet your requirements, we have a lot of people creating samples that you can come in here, and this actually shows you how to get the map coordinates. If you wanted a map coordinate widget here, right, you can do that, right? But we have one in here. It's not showing up for some. We have one in here for add layers, but I don't know why. It should be right here. I don't know why it's not here.
So the developer one, they can create their own widget, right?
Exactly, right. Or you could copy and paste. You could grab a widget from the JS API and make it work in there.
And David, can they make their own template?
Yes, you can. Yeah. You could, like, so if I wanted to go here, I could generate a new template, right? Yep, you can generate your new template. And then those would be up here. So if I go here, let's leave this site and let's go to Experience Builder. And some of the templates that we create, they're hosted as templates. And I go to, where is it? Create new here. And now I'm going to page templates up here in the URL. Let's go. There should be up here some tabs. And here we go, my organization, right? So here we go, here's one right here, here's a template, our line templates. So these are some that people created, right?
Right.
And shared as templates. Yep, so you create your own template.
So there is a question here. If you want to apply the same styling to a number of Experience Builder projects, all templates, I guess, is there a way to perhaps define your own theme or CSS that can be imported, applied to each project?
Yeah, so basically, I would so that's the developer edition that we're talking about. But basically, we have themes within Experience Builder. Let me see. Yeah, so in Experience Builder, you have themes that we have that are default. So you can have an organization one, for instance. These are all different themes. So if you had a unique theme that was based upon that, for the developer edition, you could create your own theme, and you could place it in here. And it's based on storybooks, which is going to be on our 1. release. We used to have, in 1.0, we have this thing called Theme Builder, but we're changing that out to this thing called Storybooks.
Awesome. Then it can, any user can apply it.
Right. So if that person comes in and designs that theme, the user just come in here and select that particular theme, and then they inherit everything that's part of that theme.
Awesome.